guys, it's Sophia from Kamikaze Kiwi. A couple of changes. One, we're moving, so I don't have a chair. I'm sitting on the floor right now. That's fun, I guess. Also, I got a haircut. It reminds me of, like, Kelly from Saved by the Bell, which I'm kind of okay with, like, late 80s, early 90s anyway, so I guess it's... that's good for me. But anyways, today's 5 on Friday. I want us all to press the pause button on Breath of the Wild. I know it's an amazing game, but I want to actually talk about Zelda. Now, I don't want to talk about Zelda the princess, but Zelda where the name comes from. So Zelda is actually the nickname for Griselda, which may have originally meant dark battle, which to me is awesome that that's the name chosen for Princess Zelda. As we know, she's kind of in this constant battle with Ganondorf, depending on which game you're playing. And that constant battle that she has, she does hold one of the Triforces, the Triforce of Wisdom, and even the idea of wisdom being like a battle within yourself between knowing what you should do and what you could do, kind of a thing. So I think that's really cool. It also could be from the Yiddish name, I always say this wrong, Zelgig? I always say it wrong. You can correct me in the comments down below. I understand, which actually means blessed or happy, which honestly is also really fitting because Zelda is constantly portrayed as a very happy character. Now, while Zelda in the video game is really cool, and you might know a couple other Zeldas throughout history, there is actually quite a few. Most recently, I think that people probably know of is Robin Williams named his daughter Zelda, supposedly because he's such a fan of the video game series, which is really cool. But there's also a bunch of other people. There is a designer, an African designer, that her name is Zelda. I'm trying to see if I can find any more on my list here. Zelda LaGrange, which is actually a private secretary for President Nelson Mandela. There's a lot. Oh, Zelda Zonk actually was a pseudonym that Marilyn Monroe used. So, there you go. Now, there's also a lot of fictional Zeldas, an odd amount which are actually considered villains. Didn't know that. But one Zelda in particular, the Zelda that I want to talk about today, is actually who Princess Zelda is named after, which is Zelda Fitzgerald. Now, you may have heard of Zelda Fitzgerald, but you probably more likely heard of her husband, F. Scott Fitzgerald, because if you went to high school in America, you were forced to read his novels, at least one of them, but a lot of what he writes about was actually inspired by his wife, and they had a really crazy relationship. They accused each other of plagiarism like, all the time, but she was actually a novelist and socialite and actually ballerina in her own right. She wrote Bits of Paradise, which was a huge success. She wrote a book called Save Me the Waltz, which is very... she wrote it while she was being treated in a hospital, and it was this burst of creativity for her. It only took her 6 weeks to write the whole novel, and it's pretty amazing. Now, the reason why I bring her up in particular is because she is the person that Princess Zelda is named after. And there's actually a quote here that says that it's actually Miyamoto explains, Zelda Fitzgerald was a famous and beautiful woman from all accounts, and I liked the sound of her name, so I took the liberty of using her name for the very first Zelda title. Now, I will say this, there are other ways that you can spell Zelda. One of the famous ones, more common ones, is with an S, so it's more like a Zelda than a Zelda, which also makes me wonder how they say it in Britain, because it's Z is Z over there. But anyways, that's totally beyond the point. Also, if you have heard Zelda Fitzgerald recently, that's because there's a series that came out recently called Z, and it's actually about Zelda and the life that she had. She was an amazing woman for her time. Her husband labeled her as the first flapper. She did what she wanted. She was very headstrong. She was very, some would say brave for her time, others would say crazy. She she had a lot. She definitely had a lot going on. But if ever you were going to name someone who goes from being a damsel in distress character and eventually does kind of evolve into being a self-sufficient, bullheaded, in a positive way, really character who is searching for not just her place but a place for the people that she cares about, I think Zelda Fitzgerald is a good person to name her after. And my time is up. I got a little blabby there at the end. Sorry. Anyways, thank you so much for coming by. Of course, comment, subscribe, like, all those buttons down below, all the things that you say at the end of a YouTube video. If you would be willing, please do all those things. I will be coming out with another one next Friday, and I'm really torn on what I'm going to talk about. So if you would like to hear 5 minutes about something random, put it down in the comments below. Let me know what you talk about on your Friday afternoons for a 5-minute break. And maybe next week I'll have my chair back and I can sit not on the floor. We'll see. But anyways, I am so glad that you came by, and have a great weekend.